There is a psychological trap that consumes your energy every day. It operates so quietly, so seamlessly within your life that you do not notice its existence. Most people reside within it, believing its walls are the natural shape of the world. They feel the constant drain, the slow erosion of their will, but they attribute it to stress, to work, to life itself. They never identify the cage. You lose control, respect, and clarity inside this trap. You do not lose them because someone forcefully takes them. You lose them because you are conditioned to give them away. You permit the slow theft of your own vitality, believing you are performing a duty. You are not. You are feeding a mechanism that has no concern for your well-being. Its only function is to consume. The tone is not emotional. It is a statement of fact. This is a mechanism, and you are its fuel source. This trap is not a complex device. It is formed and reinforced in the simple, mundane interactions you have every day. It lives in conversations. It thrives in the spaces between words, in the pauses filled with expectation. It is built from the invisible materials of social obligation. It works through a manufactured sense of duty, a carefully cultivated guilt, and the powerful weight of others' expectations. These are its tools. They are used to pry open your reserves of time and energy. It controls your decisions. It does not control them with overt force, but with a subtle, internal pressure. It compels you to spend your energy, your focus, and your time on objectives that are not your own. You find yourself agreeing to tasks you do not wish to do. You find yourself altering your schedule to accommodate the poor planning of others. You find yourself emotionally invested in problems that have been handed to you, not problems you have chosen to solve. The trap is versatile. It appears in the family home, where history and affection are used as leverage. It manifests in romantic relationships, where the desire for harmony makes you vulnerable to manipulation. It is a cornerstone of many workplace dynamics, where the hierarchy of power is supplemented by an unspoken hierarchy of obligation. It even corrodes friendships, turning mutual support into a one-sided transaction. In every sphere of your life, the trap can be set. You walk into it believing you are simply being a good person, a good partner, a good employee. You are, in fact, walking into a system designed for extraction. The analysis of your behavior is the only way to see the bars of the cage. There are no stories here yet. There is only the cold architecture of the mechanism. The foundation of this entire structure rests on a simple, observable truth about human nature. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this. He did not write about psychology, but he documented power. He wrote, in essence, that men are so simple and so focused on their immediate needs that a deceiver will always find someone willing to be deceived. The explanation is not complicated. People are not, for the most part, calculating villains in a grand theatrical play. They are driven by their own immediate wants and discomforts. They want to offload a task. They want to avoid a difficult emotion. They want to solve a problem with the least possible effort. To achieve this, they create a narrative. In this narrative, your assistance is not a favor. It is a crucial, necessary component of their own stability.
They present their need in a way that makes your compliance seem the only reasonable, decent, or logical option. They are the deceiver, not always out of malice, but out of a simple, self-interested expediency. You, by accepting their narrative without question, by focusing only on the immediate desire to be helpful or to avoid conflict, become the one who is willing to be deceived. You accept their manufactured reality because it is easier in the moment than constructing your own. This is the foundational transaction. The mechanism of the trap is self-perpetuating. It begins when you accept another person's expectation as your duty. A colleague is behind on a deadline. They express their stress to you. The unspoken expectation is that you will help. This expectation is not a question. It is a statement of fact presented to you. I am in trouble and you are the solution. At that moment, you internalize their problem. Their poor time management becomes your obligation. You have accepted the premise. The trap is now set. Once you accept the premise, you begin to make excuses automatically. You do this to justify the energy expenditure to yourself.
If you have to stay late to help them, you do not think, I am sacrificing my personal time for another adult's failure to plan. Instead, you think, he was really in a bind. It was the right thing to do. I couldn't just leave him to fail. These justifications are a sedative. They numb the part of your brain that should be sounding an alarm. They reframe a poor transaction as a virtuous act. You are not being used, you are being helpful. You are not being drained, you are being supportive. This is the story you tell yourself. It is a necessary lie to maintain the illusion of control. This habit of justification erodes your ability to say no. The word itself begins to feel harsh, confrontational, and wrong. The neural pathway for refusal becomes overgrown and difficult to access. The pathway for compliance becomes a wide, smooth road. When a new request is made, your mind automatically steers you down the path of least resistance. You have trained yourself to believe that no is an act of aggression, while yes is an act of peace. This is a profound cognitive distortion. A simple no is a neutral statement of fact. It is a declaration of your boundary. But inside the trap, it feels a declaration of war. Consequently, you allow others to determine what is important to you. Your priorities for the day, the week, the month become secondary. The urgent, often manufactured, needs of others take precedence. Someone else's crisis becomes your emergency. Their lack of preparation dictates your schedule. You are a firefighter, constantly putting out fires that you did not start in houses that you do not own. Your own objectives, the things that would move your life forward, are perpetually postponed. They are always waiting for that quiet moment that never arrives because the world is full of people with immediate needs. You give away your energy even when you do not want to. This is a critical point. The act of compliance is not always willing. Often it is accompanied by a deep internal resistance. You can feel the drain. You can feel the resentment building. You agree to the weekend project or the family obligation, and a part of you screams in protest. But you override that protest. You force the smile. You say the words, "Of course, I can help." The energy drain is doubled in these moments. You spend energy doing the unwanted task, and you spend more energy suppressing your own authentic response. This leads you to fulfill an endless parade of unnecessary requests. You review documents that are not your responsibility. You give advice to people who have no intention of taking it. You mediate disputes between two parties who will be in conflict again tomorrow. You become the general handyman for the lives of those around you. You are reliable, you are capable, and you are always available. These qualities, which should be sources of strength, are turned into vectors of exploitation. Ultimately, you are afraid to disappoint. This fear is the primary lock on the cage. You are afraid of the flicker of disapproval in a parent's eyes. You are afraid of the colleague's sigh of frustration. You are afraid of being labeled difficult or not a team player. You are afraid of the confrontation that might follow a refusal. This fear keeps you compliant. It makes you convenient. To be convenient is to be predictable, manageable, and, above all, useful to others at your expense. Your convenience is the oil that keeps the machine of their lives running smoothly. Your energy is the price of that convenience. Write in the comments if you have encountered this in your life. The people who set these traps are not always conscious of their methods. They are merely masters of exploiting weakness. They have an intuitive grasp of what motivates people. Machiavelli observed this dynamic of power clearly. He stated, in effect, that it is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. The explanation of this is not about inspiring terror. It is about understanding the currency of control. Love, affection, and approval are unreliable bonds. They are dependent on mood, circumstance, and feeling. Fear, however, is a constant. In this context, the fear is not a fear of physical harm. It is the fear of social consequence. It is the fear of being disliked, the fear of being seen as selfish, the fear of disappointing someone, the fear of conflict. The person who drains your energy understands this. They may not love you, but they know you fear their disapproval. They know that this fear is a more reliable tool for ensuring your compliance than any genuine bond of affection. Your need for their approval gives them power. Your fear of their disapproval is the leash they hold. They do not need to be loved by you. They only need you to be afraid of what happens when you stop pleasing them. The signs that this trap is actively absorbing your energy are not ambiguous. They are physical and psychological symptoms of a sustained drain. You must learn to recognize them not as personal failings, but as data. The first sign is a constant, profound fatigue. This is not the healthy tiredness after a day of meaningful work. It is a heavy, persistent exhaustion that sleep does not cure. It is a weariness in your very spirit. You wake up feeling already behind, already depleted. Your mind feels clouded, your thinking slow. This is the direct result of your energy being siphoned away to fuel the projects, emotions, and crises of others. Your own reserves are never allowed to replenish because the demand is constant. The energy you should be using to build your own life is instead spent patching the poorly constructed lives of those around you. The second sign is a feeling of guilt for no discernible reason. You feel a low-grade, free-floating guilt throughout your day. You feel it when you take a moment for yourself. You feel it when you consider declining a request. You feel it even when you are doing nothing wrong. This guilt is a conditioned response. You have been trained by the trap to associate your own needs and boundaries with selfishness. The mechanism has programmed you to feel bad for acting in your own self-interest. It is a phantom emotion, an alarm bell with no fire, designed to keep you in a state of anxious compliance. The third sign is the literal inability to refuse. It is more than a fear of saying no. It is a psychological and even physical blockage. When you are presented with a request you know you should decline, the word no feels lodged in your throat. You open your mouth and a justification comes out, or an apology, or, most often, the word yes. Your mind races, creating scenarios of the other person's disappointment or anger. This mental rehearsal is so stressful that compliance feels a relief. You agree to the unwanted task simply to end the internal discomfort of considering a refusal. Your willpower has been so eroded that the path of least resistance is the only path you can physically take. The fourth sign is an irritation that you constantly hide. You feel a growing resentment toward the people you are always helping. You feel a flash of anger when their name appears on your phone. You feel a deep annoyance at their predictable patterns of neediness. But you do not express this irritation. You suppress it. You cover it with a smile, with polite words, with a helpful demeanor. This unexpressed anger does not vanish. It turns inward. It becomes cynicism, bitterness, or a simmering frustration with your own life. It is a poison you mix for others but are forced to drink yourself. The fifth sign is a complete lack of personal boundaries. Your time is not your own. Your evenings, your weekends are perpetually open for intrusion. Your phone is a conduit for the demands of others, and you feel an obligation to answer at all hours. Your emotional state is held hostage by the moods of those around you. If they are anxious, you must soothe them. If they are angry, you must absorb it. You are a public utility, not a private individual. You have forgotten where you end and other people begin. The line has been erased, and your life has become a communal space where anyone can walk in and leave their problems on your floor. The final sign is the clear, unmistakable feeling of being used. The ambiguity fades, the self-deception fails. You look at a situation, another late night at the office for a colleague's project, another weekend sacrificed for a family member's whim, and the truth is unavoidable. The transaction is not fair. The relationship is not reciprocal. You are a resource. The feeling is cold and hollow. It is the dawning realization that your generosity has been mistaken for an infinite supply, and your kindness for a lack of self-respect. It is the moment you see the bars of the cage for what they are. If this is familiar, please like it so that others can see it. I remember a specific moment of clarity. It was several years ago in a previous career. A senior colleague, a man named Marcus, approached my desk late on a Thursday. He did not look at me directly. He looked at a stack of papers in his hand. His shoulders were slumped. He sighed, a loud and performative exhalation of air. Fact, Marcus began to speak about the immense pressure he was under. He mentioned a deadline for a major client. He detailed the complexity of the final report. He then shifted his narrative. He spoke of his son's soccer tournament that weekend, how he had promised to be there, how he might have to miss it. He painted a detailed picture of his personal dilemma. He never once said, "Can you help me?" He never once said, "Can you finish this report for me?" He simply laid out his problem, his stress, and the looming personal sacrifice. Then he placed the stack of papers on the corner of my desk. He finally looked at me, his expression a careful mixture of exhaustion and hope. The unspoken statement was clear. A good person, a true team player, would solve this problem for me. Reaction: I felt the familiar, immediate pull. It was a physical sensation, a tightening in my chest. The automatic script began to run in my head. He's a good guy. He's in a tough spot. I don't have any firm plans this weekend. It would only take a few hours on Saturday. It's the right thing to do. The word yes was already formed, but I stopped. I did not speak. For the first time, I did not just experience the feeling, I observed it. I observed the sensation of obligation. I observed the internal pressure to be the good guy. Then I looked at Marcus. I did not see a colleague in distress. I saw a man executing a practiced maneuver. I saw the deliberate use of personal details to create emotional leverage. I saw the calculated avoidance of a direct request, which would have allowed for a direct refusal. He was not asking for help. He was staging a scene in which my only socially acceptable role was the hero who saves his weekend. Conclusion? I concluded this was not a collaboration. It was an attempted emotional hijacking. He was trying to impose his responsibility onto me by making me feel guilty if I did not accept it. My energy for the weekend, my personal time, was a resource he intended to acquire without the honesty of a direct transaction. I looked at the papers, then back at him. My own voice was calm. It felt foreign. "That sounds like a difficult situation, Marcus," I said. I paused. "What is your plan for getting it done so you can make it to the tournament?" I did not offer help. I did not accept the burden. I simply handed the problem back to him. His expression changed. The hope vanished, replaced by a flicker of surprise, then annoyance. The mask had slipped. He picked up the papers. He said, "I'll figure something out." He walked away. In that moment, I understood the trap was not his creation alone. It required my participation, and I had just refused to play my part. This moment of realization is about seeing the world with two sets of eyes. It is about understanding the nature of both predators and their snares. Machiavelli captured this necessity perfectly. He advised that a ruler must understand how to use the natures of both the beast and the man. He must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. The explanation is a blueprint for survival. The wolves are those who would drain you, who operate on a simple principle of consumption. They see your energy, your time, your goodwill, and they want it. The traps are the subtle, manipulative narratives they use to get it. The guilt, the sense of duty, the fear of disappointing them, these are the snares they lay in your path. To be only a lion is to be powerful but artless. You will blunder into every trap set for you, relying on brute force and becoming exhausted by constant fights. To be only a fox is to be clever but weak. You will see every trap, but you will lack the strength to confront the wolves who set them. You must be both. You must have the cunning of the fox to see the manipulation for what it is, to recognize the emotional leverage, the unspoken expectations, the manufactured crises. And you must have the strength of the lion to hold your ground, to say no without apology, to maintain your boundaries, and to frighten away those who see you only as a resource. It is the union of perception and power. Getting out of the trap is not a single act. It is the adoption of a new strategy. It requires conscious, deliberate effort. It is a series of strong, simple actions. First, you must stop making excuses. When you decline a request, do not follow your no with a long, elaborate justification. Do not say, "I'm sorry, I can't because I have this other thing and I'm feeling a bit tired and the timing just isn't right." This is a sign of weakness. It tells the other person that your boundary is soft and negotiable. It invites them to problem-solve your excuse. "Oh, if you're tired, just do it tomorrow. It won't take long." A simple, unadorned no is a closed door. An excuse is a door left ajar. Second, and relatedly, do not explain your decisions. "That doesn't work for me" is a complete sentence. "I'm not available for that" is a complete sentence. You do not owe anyone a detailed accounting of your time or priorities. The act of explaining is an appeal for understanding and approval. It places the other person in the position of a judge who may or may not accept your reasons. You must remove them from that position. Your decision is your own. It is not subject to their review. Third, you must observe intentions, not words. Listen to what people are trying to achieve with their language. Are they trying to communicate a fact, or are they trying to produce an emotional state in you? Are they asking a direct question, or are they building a narrative of obligation? The man who says, "I am completely overwhelmed by this project," is not just stating a fact. His intention is to elicit a feeling of pity and a subsequent offer of help. Learn to separate the emotional packaging from the core request. More often than not, you will find there is no request, only an expectation disguised as a complaint. Fourth, you must keep your boundaries. A boundary is not a wall. It is a property line. It tells others where your domain begins and ends. Your time is your property. Your energy is your property. Your focus is your property. You must be vigilant in guarding it. This means not answering non-urgent work calls in the evening. It means protecting your weekends for your own renewal. It means deciding, in advance, how much of yourself you are willing to give in any given situation and sticking to that decision. Fifth, stop fulfilling other people's expectations automatically. You must break the conditioned response. The next time you feel the pull of obligation, the next time the automatic yes rises in your throat, pause. Take 1 second. Take a breath. That single second of hesitation is an act of rebellion. It creates a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you can make a conscious choice. You can ask yourself, is this my responsibility? Do I truly want to do this? What is the cost to me? You interrupt the automatic script and regain control of the scene. Finally, you must return responsibility to the people who are trying to impose it on you. This is a powerful technique. When someone presents you with their problem, do not accept it. Reflect it. As I did with Marcus, ask a neutral, clarifying question. That sounds stressful. What are you going to do? That's a tight deadline. How are? Chapter 2, The Architecture of the Cage. The question hangs in the air between you, a solid object. What is your plan for getting it done? Observe the immediate aftermath. There is no explosion. There is no anger. Marcus does not accuse you of being unhelpful or selfish. Such a direct confrontation would be inefficient, a clumsy expenditure of energy. Instead, a more subtle mechanism activates: confusion. His face, arranged moments before into a mask of performative hardship, now goes blank. The script has been violated. The expected input, your immediate offer to sacrifice your weekend, was not provided. The machine stalls. He blinks, the gears of his narrative grinding to a halt. He mutters something about figuring it out, about making a few calls. The energy he was attempting to hijack from you retracts, coils back into itself. The transaction is over. He turns and walks away, not with the stride of a defeated man, but with the quiet purpose of a predator who has missed a strike and must now seek easier prey. You are left standing in the sudden, unnerving silence. This silence is your first taste of freedom. It feels cold. It feels empty. This is by design. You have been conditioned to find the absence of another's demands uncomfortable. You must love this silence. It is the sound of your energy returning to you. Dissecting the mechanism, the three components of the trap. What you just witnessed was the disruption of a seamless psychological process. To prevent yourself from falling back into it, you must understand its architecture. The trap that consumes your life is not a single entity. It is a structure composed of three distinct, interlocking components. It is not a brute force cage of iron bars, but a sophisticated enclosure of manufactured consent. 1. The bait, performative vulnerability. The trap is not sprung with a command. It is baited with a story. Consider Marcus's approach. He did not order you to finish his report. An order can be refused, questioned, or escalated. An order creates a clear hierarchy and an equally clear path for resistance. Instead, he presented you with a narrative of personal suffering, his overwhelming stress, his son's game, his fatigue. This is not genuine vulnerability. Genuine vulnerability is the honest, unstrategic sharing of a state with no expectation of a specific outcome. What Marcus deployed was performative vulnerability. It is a carefully curated presentation of weakness designed to trigger a specific, conditioned response in you. It is a weapon disguised as a wound. The manipulator has identified your primary virtue, your empathy, your desire to be a good person, a reliable colleague, a supportive friend, and has weaponized it. The story is the delivery system for the emotional payload. You are not responding to a request for help. You are reacting to a stimulus designed to hijack your cooperative instincts. You see a person in distress, and your programming compels you to fix it. This is the bait. It looks and feels like a moral obligation, but it is merely the first step in a transaction from which you gain nothing. 2. The walls, the unspoken contract. Once you take the bait, the walls of the cage materialize around you. These walls are not physical, they are invisible, constructed from the powerful material of unspoken social contracts and your own fear. The moment you show sympathy for the manipulator's story, you have implicitly signed an agreement. The terms of this contract are never stated, but you feel them with crushing certainty. You have agreed that their problem is legitimate. You have agreed that they are incapable of solving it themselves. You have agreed that you, by virtue of your competence and compassion, are now a stakeholder in their failure or success. You find yourself nodding along to their tale of woe. You find yourself saying things like, "That sounds really tough," or "I'm sorry you're dealing with that." With every sympathetic murmur, you are adding another layer of mortar to the walls. The power of these walls comes from your terror of being perceived negatively. To backtrack now, to refuse to help after showing sympathy would be to risk being labeled uncaring, selfish, not a team player, a bad friend, a difficult partner. These labels are the electrified wires running along the top of the walls. The shock is social, not physical, but for many, the fear of it is just as potent. You are not trapped by the other person's power. You are trapped by your fear of social judgment. 3. The lock, your compulsion to solve. The bait has been taken, the walls are up, but the cage is not yet locked. The final component is the lock, and it is a mechanism you operate yourself. The lock is your internal, automatic, and deeply ingrained compulsion to provide a solution. The trap setter rarely has to ask for what they want. They have created a vacuum of responsibility, and they know your conditioning will compel you to fill it. The silence after their story is not empty. It is a space of intense psychological pressure. You feel the weight of their unspoken expectation. Your mind races, not with the question, "Is this my problem?" but with, "How can I fix this for them?" You are the one who says, "Don't worry, I can take a look at it." You are the one who says, "I can stay late." You are the one who says, "Let me handle it." With these words, you turn the key. The cage door clicks shut. You have willingly imprisoned yourself to relieve the manipulator of their burden and to relieve yourself of the social anxiety their performance has created. The relief you feel in that moment is a sedative, masking the fact that you have just sanctioned the siphoning of your own vital resources, your time, your focus, and your energy. The system is complete. It is seamless, efficient, and requires your full participation. Its only function to consume. Diagnostic, the emotional residue. Escaping the trap is more than just learning a single phrase. It is a process of deconditioning. The first sign that you are succeeding is not a feeling of triumph, but a wave of profound discomfort. If you have recently attempted to set a boundary by asking, "What is your plan?" or by simply saying, "No," you will recognize the following echoes of the cage. These are not signs of failure. They are symptoms of withdrawal from a psychological addiction. 1. The free-floating guilt. Hours or even days after the interaction, you feel a persistent, low-grade guilt. You cannot pinpoint a specific wrongdoing because there was none. This is phantom guilt, an emotional echo manufactured by years of conditioning that taught you your value is tied to your utility to others. 2. The compulsion to justify. You find yourself rehearsing the conversation in your mind, but this time you are adding long, elaborate explanations for your refusal. You feel a desperate need to make the other person understand that you are still a good person, that you had a valid reason. This is the impulse to seek their approval for your own freedom. You do not need it. Your decision is your own. 3. The anxiety of retaliation. You become hyper-vigilant, watching the other person for signs of anger or resentment. You interpret their silence as aggression, their brevity as punishment. You are waiting for the other shoe to drop, because the trap has taught you that establishing a boundary is an act of war. It is not. It is a statement of fact about your property line. 4. The bargaining monologue. You begin to negotiate with yourself. Maybe I could have just helped for an hour. Next time I'll say yes to show it wasn't personal. This is the voice of the addict trying to convince you to return to the familiar comfort of self-sacrifice. Recognize it for what it is, a programmed retreat from the discomfort of self-possession. If you feel these things, you are on the right path. You are feeling the friction of your own programming as it erodes. The tone here is not emotional. It is a statement of fact. This discomfort is the price of reclaiming your sovereignty. Advanced strategy, mastering the void. The question, "What is your plan?" is your first tool. It is the fox cleverly seeing the snare. Now you must learn the strength of the lion, the ability to hold your ground. Your next step in this strategic evolution is to master the silence that follows your question. We will call this the void. The manipulator creates a problem and presents it to you. When you refuse to take it, a psychological space opens up. The void. You are not a firefighter for every blaze another person starts. You are the sovereign ruler of your own territory, the sole proprietor of your own energy. Learning to stand silent and resolute in that uncomfortable space is how you teach others, and more importantly, yourself, where the property line is drawn. Do you recognize the architecture of the cage in your daily life? Write in the comments which component, the bait, the walls, or the lock, is most frequently used against you. Your awareness is the first step. If this analysis provides clarity, please like it so that this knowledge may reach others who are still trapped. Your decision is your own.